Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do get started, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a number of things happening. Deku, he decided to, with his 50 reward points, master water magic. He messed around with this ability a bit more, and he even thought about what he could do with blood magic, since it is essentially controlling the water in someone's body. Now, that it ended up with Deku accidentally turning himself into a puddle of water in the house, before even messing with making constructs of himself out of water. Now, he ended up spending more time with Pyra, but that was after he messed around with wound manipulation and even told this information to Serthidor. And the man, yeah, he's still quite surprised by Deku's miraculous growth, and the strange anomaly his student does seem to be. Now, with that being said, Deku, he also started getting plans made to make a deal with the vampire. Since putting her under a geas, it's what she requested. But Deku wants to make this a fair term. He doesn't want to enslave anybody. And he gave her a vial of his blood to lure her out. She drank it heartily and happily, and it should help sustain her for the next few weeks. But Izuku, on good faith, gave her 2 large potion vials full of his blood. Way more than what he just gave her. And he told her quite simply, they want information, and they want to know what the hell they're up against. And she told them a little bit of things. Deku, whenever he fought Zagul, he fought one of the generals of the Demon Lord. I mean, he wasn't powerful by their standards, but he almost killed Izuku. And that, it made him feel bad. He thought the guy was one of his underlings, a subordinate, but hearing that he's actually on the rankings, it made him feel a bit better. Yes, it's bad, but if what she says is true, then he might be the weakest. She even talked about another strange man, the one Deku met before, the one who saved his life. He joined up almost 20 years ago, if she has it correct, and he tries to kill the Demon Lord for something, but the man finds it amusing. He plays with his own subordinates, and that, it's bad. He's playing with them as well. And Izuku, he's not sure how to feel about that. Right now, they've got a lot to prepare for. And speaking of that, the event, it is approaching with every coming day. By the end of the week, Deku and his party members, they got some more information. And they learned that the event was taking place in the kingdom of Vanja. And that, yeah, it wasn't good for them to learn. They don't know where this place is, but whenever they did consult King Solomon and members of the council, they began to pull out maps, trying to learn more from what they can, and discovered it is quite far away. I mean, it's about a few hundred miles, and they are going to have to try and go around the plains of wild magic. So yeah, that does definitely mean a bit. Now, they could try to fly straight through it, but that is another bad idea. You need to be powerful to survive those areas. And while Deku does have some strength, it is unpredictable for a multitude of other reasons. And Theodore has advised against trying to go for a straight path. So now, that is where we're currently at. Deku's party began to make the journey, and when people tried to get into contact with this kingdom, they were not having it. They believed that this was some sort of plot to invade, some sort of plot to overthrow. But when reports started coming in from multiple other kingdoms, it became a bit more of a problem. They began to properly communicate, And upon learning that all four of the heroes chosen by the deities above are coming to their kingdom, yeah, that became a more serious matter, especially whenever someone swore it on the gods above. And this, it had them quite terrified. Whatever is happening, it's coming to their land. And this, it's terrifying. As right now, 3 weeks have almost completely gone by, and Deku, he is flying through the air. They've got about 3 days left. It's a little over that time. At some point, the event will kick off at what? High noon? So that's going to be bad. They still don't have the proper location. If it's anywhere in this kingdom, they might be told within what, the last hour before it starts? The kingdom is large and massive. Then on Deku's mind. As right now, let's cut over to the king of Vanja. He is currently in their capital city, and he does get to stand outside, waiting outside the palace and waiting. It's quite an interesting place, quite an interesting amount of people he's going to meet today. He's got it on good authority, they'll be here. And right now, there is where a circle of magic is flying through the air. It's coming to land down as people, they do have their weapons at the ready. And the man does stare on, watching as a group of people, they do come to land. 4 of them. And it does have them quite surprised. As right now, there is where he does see 2 mages. He does see a elf. And then there's even a wolf man. This alarming him. He does look around. I mean, the hero is one of these people, and not the elf, but the mage? The beast man. He can't be the hero, can he? They're dealing with people from other worlds? Quite odd. And right now the king does a step forwards, hearing another sound as there is where another group of people do come flying down. Bakugo going to land as he does talk about it, bring his hand up and going to step off of the broom. He seriously still doesn't like doing that. Going to turn and crack his back. Turning and seeing Ochako. Right now someone going to set down her familiar, as the dog on the ground does going to wag its tail. Her turning and bending down to the pup, patting it on the head and trying to calm it down, since right now it is happy to be back on solid ground. And she does a stand, turning to see him, as right now she does see the scar on his face and the expression he does wear. It's calmer. Him walking over the 2 do stand in front of each other. Him bringing his hand up as she does go to shake it, asking how he's been. I've been fine. A little preoccupied with a few things, but we got held up yesterday. If we didn't, we might have actually beat you here. What about Izuku and Kirishima? Are they here? No, they're not. Her looking over Bakugo's shoulder, seeing that somebody here, they are still quite clingy. And Bakugo, he does get a turn. Right now Elsa going to cling to his side and stare at Ochako. Him going to express, bring a hand down and patting her on the head. It's fine, this is Ochako. Him and her aren't like that. But she does still go to stare on, going to open her mouth and bare some of her teeth, as Bakugo does just won't laugh. Ochako expressing, nice to see her too. She would have thought that she would have left the party. And the man has to stare on. Those 2? They're awfully young to be heroes. No, they're younger than his son. perhaps even his daughter. And that does mean something. The man stepping forwards and going to ask if they may enlighten him on something. The two both turning, Bakugo stepping forwards and going to fall to a knee, bring a hand up to his chest and telling the man, apologies. They haven't talked in person in some time. He is Bakugo Katsuki. He comes from Sitha, and they've come to help with this event, this grave matter of importance. Ochako going to fall to a knee and do something similar, expressing that she does come from Kila, and they have come to offer aid. And the man is to stare at the two, a girl in mage armor, and Bakugo in clear leathers. No, those aren't just simple leathers. And taking a closer look, they're scaled. He slayed a powerful beast. And the two, they do stare at the man, who does go to wave his hand absently, him snapping back to attention himself and turning, seeing a giant ball flying towards them. And this speck he does see, it does get closer and closer, before the purple barrier does come flying down and Kirishima's party does go to land. Him going to express, talking about it. He's just saying it wasn't that bad. Him turning to Mogak, going to smile as just to punch him in the arm. Reno sitting down, his familiar, and he does it turn back. Them staring at him. He has short red hair. His body is covered in war paints, and he does have a few scars running up along his arms that do show off he has seen much combat. And he does return to them, stepping over and going to greet Bakugo, talking about it. Is Izuku here yet? He didn't think he'd be last. Not here yet, but we haven't started. This is the king, him staring at the man. I'm King Barzik. Them watching on. Kirishima staring a little bit too long at the tiefling, since for a second he thought this guy was a demon. And that it is where Ochako does a turn, expressing about how she thinks she just got to see him. And a lot of people do turn their heads. Right now them watching as someone does come flying down with a pair of wings, large and blue. Deku going to pull his wings back as he does land on the ground, sliding forwards as he does gonna open his cloak and it does go to fully manifest and flow around him. Him bringing his hand up and pulling his hair back up and out of his face, going to fully stand and turn. As Indra, she does gonna land behind him, talking about it. Damn it. Told you I'd win. Though I don't think it's good to leave the others behind. They'll be here soon. Them watching as a dragon does come flying down. It landing close to Deku and going to chirp out. Him turning to it and expressing. No, they bought those items to fly. They're simple. Going to scratch a dragon under the chin. As he does get a turn and everyone, they do get to stare at him. As he does get to bring his hands up. Hey, long time no see, guys. Walking over. And whenever he does so, Kirishima does step over. However, people are staring at that entrance. He looks menacing. This young man is a hero? The red cape. No, that can't be. The sigil in the back. That boy, he's interacted with a fae. This is alarming the man. He's either incredibly tactful or skillful, or he made a deal with somebody. He made a deal with the court and the archfey. And this idea does somewhat worry him. However, his eyes are drawn to the dragon that currently just stand on the steps out here in the courtyard. And this does mean a bit. Turning to the other one. I mean, she's clearly got dragon blood in her. Right now, a few people going to stand there, watching as Deku does the walk over and see Bakugo. The two staring at each other, and he does a turn, bringing his hand up. Bakugo going to raise a hand and the two to clasp arms, before they just stand there for a second and people do watch on. Deku staring him down as he does the same exact thing. The two both wondering who might be stronger. And that does ultimately go to Deku. When Bakugo does it finally express, okay, he gives. Pulling back. Haven't increased your power skill? No, haven't touched it yet. Been a little concerned about it. Have you? It's a good skill to level. 5 points, but it's definitely worth the bullet. How about you guys, though? Him turning. Now, Chaco, she is almost drooling at that item he's wearing. She's already used her own skill on it to see what it is. And it is made of mana. It's fueled on it. It's a freaking magical artifact of its own right. And that does have her intrigued. Her walking over and asking about it. To which Deku does express. So you know that whole thing he talked about with the Fae and him having to marry one of them? You can't be serious. Yeah, this was a wedding gift. Her laughing about it. And the man does stare on. These are the heroes. These are the people here who are going to help out. That can't be someone stepping forwards, going to tell the king about exactly what they are seeing. And the man, he does a turn, listening to this man's voice before nodding his head. Like his expression does go from being more worried about the fate of his people being on their hands to more intrigued, since these four have been taught the warrior's custom. And from what this man is saying, they are each a master of an element. And that does have him more intrigued. If they're masters of an element, masters of an art, then that could come in handy. But what does that mean exactly for all of them? Him going to turn. And right now Bakugo does going to notice it in Deku's hair, asking exactly what is going on there. Huh? Ice and water. You? I was talking about the orange one. It's from the quest. The S rank. But no. What about you? Heat. It overall does help improve explosions without having to actually do much. But it's an evolution of fire. Holding his hand up and going to show off what he does mean, producing the blue flames. And Indra does it a walk up. Right now the rest of his party members going to land with their brooms. And he does talk about it. It's quite a powerful skill. He's still trying to understand the gap between 50 and 1. But from what he can tell, it's quite a bit. Indra's staring at the flames. And she does gotta bring her hand up talking about it. So that's what it is? Are they all like this? Her turning to the crowd. And Deku does gotta watch her before he does express. This is Indra. She's Atrig's daughter, like he mentioned. And she's a member of his party. I joined you to get stronger. And I have been doing so. But to see that there's more competition, it is unnerving. Yeah, don't feel so bad about it. Kirishima bring his hand up, holding it to her as she's a turn, giving him a scowl For she does this on sigh, bring her hand up and clasping his arm, shaking it as she does a turn to Ochako, quite intrigued about this girl wearing mage armor. She doesn't look all that powerful, but she does see the same thing going on in her hair. She's mastered an element. And this does give her great pause, wanting to know more. However, Deku, he does a turn, as he doesn't notice that everyone here does have a familiar. Astoth walking up as there is Bakugo's familiar, which does go to someone let out a bit of a chirp that sounds more like a bird. And he does a turn, seeing Elza, the dragonkin, going to hold it up and talking about it. Or no, her going to hand it off to somebody and look at Astoth, walking up and asking if he's a dragon. Not exactly. He's a pseudo dragon. I found him a while back and, well, I've been taking care of him. Patting it on the head, talking about how he's not sure what's happened, but his magic is doing something to it. And he's not gonna lie, it's been more apparent as of late. Have you guys noticed changes in yours? No. Her turning to her dog, Ochako staring at the animal and wondering. Before Kirishima does a turn down to the animal he does have, and he is quite curious. And Deku does a turn asking about what that is, pointing to the small creature by Kirishima. Him going to someone laugh and talk about how that's his familiar. They call him Be. Well, it starts with a B, but most people call them land sharks. That's probably the best way to call it. He calls them Egan. Right. No, I get it. Pseudo sometimes gets annoying. A man gonna clear his throat as they all do a turn to the Tiefling King. Deku staring at the man before he does go to bring his hand up and freeze for a second. And they do to watch on as the king does go to stand there, expressing. He is quite happy that they are all here. Will there be anybody else joining them? Or just them? Someone going to step in. And the man has a turn to his son, who does go to express. Millar talking about it. They have all given quite their elegant entrances. However, if the matter of importance they are talking about is as bad as they do think, perhaps it would be good for them to step inside and talk. This is quite a delicate matter. Time is running out before things do begin. What his father is trying to say is, they should really get to planning things. Everyone looking at each other and going to agree. Since right now, after their long journeys, they do need a little bit of rest. And sitting down and talking about a strategy could definitely be good. And that is the group they are walked in. Bakugo turning his head and seeing a princess, as she does bring up her hands and smile, giving him a wink and a wave. Him surprised as someone does get a push up inside. Ochako talking about how he might want to be careful with that. Her going to turn. And they do all head inside. As whenever they do get to the war room, people do get to sit down. Them right now seeing members of the Royal Guard. And people who are here to guard the king and his royal family. And the man, he does go to watch the four sit down together in a group. As they're at one side of the table, him, a general, and a commander at another, along with a prince who does stand there. All of them talking about it. This is quite an interesting matter. He does apologize for not allowing them to bring their, as they call it, mentors, but in this land, they deal with quite a lot. Their kingdom is being stretched thin at the moment. I see. Bandits? Yes, it is bad. Many of our water traders have been dealing with many people, and it has been a little difficult. Some areas aren't proficient in magic enough. They don't have enough mana in the air, and magic is more scarce in those areas here in the desert. However, the mountains nearby, it does provide many things. I see. That does sound bad. It is quite difficult for some time. We have many cities in this area. If one of them is attacked by this event, as you call it, if it is disastrous, then we may be in danger. Danger of collapse? It's quite possible. Yeah, we'll make sure that doesn't happen. Kirishima bring up his hands, talking about it. Right now, they'll try to do what they can to stop this damn thing. It isn't going to be able to win against them. Heck, he knows his skill has gotten pretty freaking strong. Turning to the others, talking about how it's almost at level 5, and that it does make all of them a bit more confident in this. Bako expressing, that's good. He knows that right now his skill is at level 5. And he even does have another skill. He got it from the wyvern nest. He got it from a challenge. So it could do them some good. But that's not just it. What is their rank 100 skill? Him turning and looking around. Kirishima talking about it. Okay, that's pretty easy. Him going to bring his hand up and go to create a weapon. It being pulled out of the air from Earth. Talking about it. He's pretty much able to do this. It being covered in a glow and talking about it. Them watching on. Basically, it can take on any damage. It can absorb it and redirect it. That's pretty much good, right? That's pretty powerful. Yeah, that's good. We can potentially use that if we're dealing with something bad. Though if it does let out destructive energy, that's another thing. I see. That is quite a unique skill. But what does it do other than what you say? Or what you claim? It can redirect things. I don't know the best way to say it. It's just it can absorb energy and blast it back at your opponent. Him going to wave his arms, talking about it, before allowing the energy to disperse, and the blade, it going to crumple onto the table into some rocks, talking about it. Okay, that's not that. What about him? Turning to Deku, and he does talk about it. He's got a pretty interesting skill, though he is wondering about what they should do then. If they're trying to make a strategy based on their skills, what about their powers? I mean, he's proficient in water and ice magic. He's mastered them. He's working on trying to gain access to blood magic, but basically if it involves cold weather or water, he's a master at that. He's still working on a few things that are helping out there. Have you mastered anything else? Are you close to it? My wind magic isn't that good, but my raw magic is better. My barriers are good, and other than that, my physical stats are pretty high. But to answer your guys' question, it's wound manipulation. Him staring around. And it does get a register in Bakugo's head. Ochako's and Kirishima's. And he does try to express. Basically, he can manipulate injuries, make them worse or heal them. He's still worried about training it since it's kind of bad. Is it that bad? Yeah, I can see exactly how injured someone can be. I can either put them back together or, if I wanted to, tear them apart. Yikes. Her taking an involuntary scoot away from Deku. And he does try to talk about it. If they're facing something that is alive, they need to focus on injuring it. He can try to use his ability and take it out quickly. If they have to try and redirect its power back at it, they can use Kirishima's tactic. And they can have distractions. He's been getting pretty good with the cloning ability of his. Is it a skill? It's based on water magic, but that's not it. Bakugo? Him looking at Deku, snapping out of it and talking about it. His skills are pretty good too. He's got a little bit more than halfway through his mastery of raw magic. It's at 30. Ochako looking at him before deciding to pop his bubble. Raw magic doesn't max out at 30. It doesn't? No, it keeps going. Mine's at 60. Seriously? This catching Deku's attention. Wait, Kirishima, your stats? My strength is at 70 and everything else is kind of lower than that. My speed's at 60, but other than that, no. No other skills other than my familiar skill. Right. Okay, we can go over that more a bit later. Maybe try and train, see what we can all do, make tactics based on that. All of them going to agree. And the king's worries are quickly going away. These four don't work as members of a team, but they're making decisions together with votes, opinions, and minds, and devising tactics. Okay, he may have misjudged. And Bakugo does take the lead in the conversation. Okay, so that's good to know. He has been trying to do a lot more with his own powers, but projectile body allows him to take an object and fling it. It's not like telekinesis because he has to focus his power. It's pretty good for flying, but other than that, it's not that good. He's still leveling it up, but he's able to fling a pretty decent group of people away. Seriously? Not a bad ability if you're dealing with groups and you're outnumbered. Her going to retract her statement with a nod and being quiet. Before Kirishima does ask a question. If raw magic doesn't max out at that level, then what does it max out at? He thought it was just a bit higher. I mean, it kind of does make sense if they're using magic a lot, but does it max out at 100 then? I mean, his fire is at 40 and his other magics are getting better. Ochako nodding, talking about how she's close to maxing out two of her other skills. Ice and Earth. Really? My barrier magic is at 48. Does it max at 50? Her looking around the table, before getting a nod from Kirishima, talking about how it does. But it doesn't evolve. So far, he doesn't think it does yet. If the system's doing something to upgrade, then it might upgrade barriers soon. Maybe next year? Kirishima unsure. Though, this can't really be ruled out of the question. The system updated once, and if it upgraded to them all reaching level 100, then that does mean something. Ochako speaking up. Her system upgraded too, but she hasn't reached rank 100 yet. All of those abilities seem interesting, but if they're dealing with a threat that isn't physical and more magical, she may have the upper hand. I mean, Kirishima's unique skill is good, but if this is something that they have to fight with magic, she's fairly certain that the two of them could take it on. It would just need to be Deku and Kirishima taking its attention. Her magical reservoir is, and she's not trying to be mean, massive. She feels in comparison to theirs. Have you casted Winter Storm? Um, I've heard of that spell. I've tried looking into it, but no. I haven't been able to find a grimoire. Him going to bring his hand up, and his book does go slide across the table. As he does it to open it and begin flipping through it, Ochako leaning in and going to somewhat pull the book towards her. Deku pulling his hand back, talking about it. He's talked to people in Granola about getting a few things, and he's even looked into getting more grimoires. Though he's not sure multicasting is good for him yet. Though he does have Polygloth. Someone going to say something. And Deku does get a turn to the man, who has been saying something in a language he didn't think that Deku could understand, to which he does it to respond back in that language. He speaks the All Tongue, before he has a turn and look at everybody, saying with multiple voices. He can speak in many different ways. It's a little odd sometimes, but he's gotten used to the skill. All of them somewhat staring at him, since hearing the echo of voices is a little freaky, especially when you only see one tongue move in the mouth. So yeah, that's a little off. And it does make all four of them sit there for a minute and strategize, try and come up with plans and deal with things. And the king, him and his people, they do even try to chime in, wanting to get their own forces involved. They need to know what is going to happen, when it's going to happen, and where it's going to happen. If it goes off close by to a city, they will be there to evacuate. The heroes can draw attention along with their forces. They will not let people be killed. But that's another thing. Right now, they're trying to think about what cities could be on the chopping block. And there are a few. But right now, that number is about 5 cities. If one hero is at one city, then that leaves one vulnerable. So it'd be best for them to stay here and possibly head out whenever the event starts. That from their perspective. Though the heroes are still relying on being given full notice, at least a day ahead where this place might be, the exact name of the area. I mean, hell, even a freaking mini-map in the corner of their vision pointing the way. That's what they want. Something they can track. And that it does tell them something. Now, after the group does try to strategize, there is where people, they do disperse. The king allowing the groups to be given rooms. And then a lot of people going to hold lunch. Now, the king's gone over quite a bit with some of his own people. He's happy to see the strategy and happy to see such young minds show much promise. And we do have in the courtyard, well, food is being prepared. Kirishima, he does stand there, him talking about a few things with his weapon, holding the axe up in his hand and talking about it. He attuned to it, but he's not sure if this is a good idea. Him holding it up as Deku, he does gonna hold up his Nodachi, talking about it. Maybe, but still. If he did want a fist fight, though, they could do that. They're pretty close in strength, right? 65, 70. Kirishima going to state. He does have physical power over Deku, but that does have him a bit worried. Physical power isn't always what you need to win a fight, and that does mean a bit. Heck, his reinforcement ability might be better than his. That massive scar on his stomach, it's proof of that. Though Deku, he does go to express, bringing his sword up and going to make it drop to his inventory, about how they could both also just see what they can do. And Bakugo, he does go to sit there. Right now him with a lot going through his mind. Ochako blinking in and teleporting in between the two, talking about it. Okay, what are they trying to do? She is trying to meditate. We wanted to see who's stronger. Are you sure? Actually, before you guys do that, could we spar? Bakugo holding up a long sword towards Deku, and he does a stare at him, turning to Kirishima as he does fall silent. Ochako turning to Izuku and showing a bit of concern on her face. And this does get to be shown, as Deku does pull his weapon and go to bring his hand up, pulling his cloak away and going to put it in his inventory. As it doesn't disappear, talking about it, holding his blade up. Sure. Though, are they gonna go till first blood? Or are they trying to go for a little further? First blood. How about that? Or until a killing blow could be landed. Stop short though? That sounds interesting. Skill or no skill? How about skill? Bakugo bring up his hand. It going to cover his other weapon, and the sword does begin to erupt into a red color. Him staring at that. And Izuku, he does hold the Nodachi. His body beginning to pour with blue energy. As his sword, it does begin to glow with frost. It going to let off the freeze, and it does produce steam. Deku's standing there, holding the weapon up and going to stare at Bakugo, thinking about ending it with a whirlwind slash, thinking about taking this sword and going to make this easy. But Bakugo's being better. He's not going to try and do that. He'll see how far he can push this battle. He'll let him make the first strike. And that does mean a bit. Bakugo going to be covered in red armor, and he does a stare at him, seeing as there's something behind him for a second. The moment Deku's eyes drift upwards, he does get to see a spirit. And that is where Bakugo does a rush forwards, him moving in at higher speeds. Deku feeling the murderous intent pouring off of him. Him going to bring his sword up and go to clash swords. And he does block the attack. Him being covered in his spirit armor as he does go to clash again. Bakugo pulling away and stepping in, throwing his sword out and ready. And the two, they just strike each other again. Right now them going to go back and forth. Deku on the back foot trying to regain his bearing after the surprise strike. And whenever he does go to bring his hand up, he does go to throw it out. Bakugo going to bring up his sword and slash out, cutting Deku across the gauntlet as he does throw out his Nodachi. Him going to try and attack Bakugo, who does go to fly backwards quickly. Him moving backwards and up into the air with his ability, being covered in the strange green glow, talking about it. He's fairly certain that that's not going to work. Though, what are they going to do now? Him smiling. Deku going to manifest wings and going to have his armor lessen, talking about it. Well now, what exactly are they going to do? Covering his face with a mask and going to protect himself. And the two do go flying forwards. Bakugo, more surprised when Deku does send out a spike from his wing and it is a flying at him, having a dodge and going to bring up his hand, trying to rebalance himself with his strike, Deku slashing down and cutting into his sword. The two clashing metals as they do go to connect. Them pushing on each other as Deku does push Bakugo back. Him alarmed and going to step backwards and pull his weapon away, trying to go for a backward swing and hit Deku in the back. Though Izuku, he does good a turn, bringing his hand up and going to cover his arm in scales. The gauntlet going to take the attack and break. This surprising Deku. Right now, him going to watch as Bakugo does pull his weapon away from the small break in the gauntlet. Talking about it. Deku going to demanifest that part of his armor and holding his arm up. Red scales. And this does intrigue Bakugo. Staring at that. Deku holding up his weapon as someone does express. That will be enough. All of them turning their heads. And the princess does come stepping out. Expressing. She is quite happy that the heroes are here. However, this display, is it quite necessary for them to be doing this in the courtyard? All of them turning towards her. And Izuku does talk about it. They have been trying to get assessment of each other's abilities. Him going to turn to Bakugo, who does it a nod, and Kirishima does so as well. The princess informing them. They do have a private training yard for the Royal Knights. If they would like to train there, they can. However, in the courtyard may be more dangerous. Are they using magic of some kind? Technically, no. Him looking at Kirishima. And then back to Bakugo. And they do just stare at each other. Skills are magical, but spirit isn't technically magic? Neither is Bakugo's ability, which, from what he saw, is a bit similar to his. And they do look at each other for a minute, as the princess does inform them. Right now, they do have a few things happening here. Would you like to join the royals for lunch? And all of them do go look at each other. Before, they do just silently nod, and Deku does put his weapon away. The girl is staring at him for a second. Before, she does try to ask him about his blade. If it is dark steel. He has to confirm, talking about how he got it from the King of York. And that statement doesn't mean a lot to her. Her trying to ask what exactly he did to earn the weapon. I fought at Battle Stonefen. I did well there. We pushed back the forces and took out what we couldn't. Well, we took out what we could and drove back what we couldn't. It was a very long battle. We expected reinforcements to arrive, but after we killed a vampire lord, it didn't. A vampire lord? Her staring at Deku, with a bit more respect on her face. Those are not easy to kill. And he does express. He got the blade then, after the battle. He's been using it ever since. You were trusted with dark steel weaponry. It is said to be nigh unbreakable. This giving him pause, turning and asking what she does mean. You don't know? Dark steel is almost as hard as adamantine, and it's said to be nigh unbreakable. It's able to reflect magical attacks. You're right. I can do that. But nigh unbreakable? This on his mind. His sword is almost as hard as adamantine, almost as durable as that metal. Okay, that's crazy. Him sitting down, trying to eat and talk with everybody while he does have that thought in his mind. Just sitting on that. He'll have to bring that up tomorrow. See what more he does know. See what more things are going on. And later, he does go to retreat to bed. He definitely had a lot to think about today, though he is happy to see the others. They're definitely a lot friendlier nowadays, especially Bakugo. Whatever he went through certainly has helped to quell that ego of his. But that does then raise a question. What will they do tomorrow to plan things out? Early rise, talk, go over combat strategies? Maybe. This is on his mind. Him getting into his bed and going to think. Before he does go to lay there, wondering about what exactly to do. And right now, Deku, he does go to begin to fall asleep, where he's to hear the door creak open, going to turn his head and look up. Right now seeing Pyra staying there, before she had to silently move across the room and go to crawl into bed, trying to ask if he has a minute to chat. Him turning to do so, and the two, they do talk about a few things. Pyra even commenting on exactly what she saw earlier. There's more than just a few people sneaking around the castle, and that does make Deku laugh a little bit, especially since Pyra ran into Elsa. And Deku, he can definitely say something about that tomorrow. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.